Since the last time on the startup download, I shared some reasons I want to kill the TAM slide. 37 out of the top 50 YC companies have yet to exit, and why that matters. OpenAI has plans that might wipe out a wave of startups. DocuSign's acquisition also might wipe out another wave of startups. Why an app is trying to make you do push-ups to get into your favorite social media sites, and what you can learn from a company that might successfully be competing with Uber. My name is Chiedo John. This is the Startup Download, brought to you by the Rocktown Angel Club, helping 1,000 founders build 1,000 startups and investing in the best. TAMs. Let's talk about TAMs or SOMs or SAMs, said the cat in the hat. Can we please get rid of the TAM slide for pre-seed companies and many seed companies? Yeah, my bad. I've recommended it a lot in the past, but I had to build my confidence to get to this point. So why do I want to kill the TAM slide? 1, it's almost always a guess. 2, the SAM and the SOM slapped alongside it are rarely any better. At pre-seed, there's so much guessing and so many pivots in the future. What's the point? There's got to be something more useful at early stage. I'm not sure what yet, but maybe I'd rather see something like this. Starting with the ideal customer profile, the number of businesses or people who fit that profile, maybe just pick a country and just one, right? Where you got the data from, and then leaving out the dollar figure completely because it's a joke. I'm not sure that's the magic formula, but at least the ICP and research solely based on an ICP, if you use that, you're tying to something more knowable at the pre-seed stage. Even though the ICP might change someday, it usually does, but at least it's not chaining unknowables together and calling it math. I assume most pre-seed founders are tired of guessing their way through the SAMs and done with pitching the slide when they know it's elf magic. And I know most investors are also tired of trying to understand how the numbers were calculated, knowing that it was pulled out of a hat. So please, let's kill the TAM slide and do something better when we just don't know. Both investors and founders will be happier. We've had a good run. Let's move on. Glad I got that off my chest. 37 out of the top YC companies of all time by revenue have not exited. I recently found a list on their website, and among those, there are household names like Airbnb, DoorDash, Dropbox, the ones that have exited. But then there are also a lot of household names on the list still with no exits. Companies like Stripe, Webflow, and Zapier, or Zapier, not sure. Stripe is going on 15 years now since YC. Webflow is going on 11, and Zapier is going on 12. Reddit took about 20 years to exit, and that just took place this year. And these aren't run-of-the-mill companies. These are some of the best tech companies in the world. Why does it matter? Well, before you launch your next idea or raise your next round, ask yourself if you're ready to do this for another 20 years, if that's what it takes. Meaning going from being 20 to 40, riding skateboards one day and driving kids to college the next day. Hopping out of a moving car to play a pickup game of basketball as a 20-year-old, to stretching for 30 minutes before layups in your 40s. 20 years is a long time. Some of the best startups in the world are taking that long to exit. Doesn't imply that less financially successful startups don't exit sooner. I assume many probably do, and maybe the companies aren't exiting because they don't have to. But before taking money from investors, it's worth asking yourself if you've only got one 20-year shot in your life to do the startup thing. Is that the shot you want to take? Is this the thing you're all in on? Food for thought. According to TechCrunch, OpenAI is launching the tool people have been waiting for, a way to let content creators opt out of AI training, although not until 2025. Not sure if it's a coincidence, but Reuters also shared that OpenAI is announcing a search engine competitor to Google soon. Will content creators have to opt out of both and miss out on the search engine distribution to protect their IP on the ChatGPT front? Not sure. What I do know is that I've seen a few startup pitches now working on solving this problem, content creator IP protection in this new AI landscape. And once again, the hand of OpenAI is launching a feature that might make those startups irrelevant. Sadly, what's the lesson? If you're a founder in this AI season, you may want to think twice before launching anything that might be or should be considered a feature for one of the mainstream AI company product suites. Maybe it's nothing, but this whole AI space is moving so fast. I'd recommend building your startup kingdom as far away from the king's castle and the moat as possible. DocuSign made an acquisition, one that also may wipe out another wave of startups, similar to OpenAI. TechCrunch states that DocuSign is buying Lexion, contract workflow automation startup, jargon. What do? Lexion lets legal teams, sales teams, IT, HR, and the finance teams ask natural language questions about documents and other things related to document creation and review. I've seen a lot of pitches in this space, and I was hesitant to bet on this area for this very reason. There are so many companies who already exist and serve this target audience, like DocuSign, who already has the distribution if they decide to roll out an AI contract review and collaboration tool as a feature. And to be fair, this doesn't mean the other startups don't succeed. And if I had invested in Lexion, I'd be calling myself a genius. But hey, this is my video, so I'm going to play the cards I have. This goes back to my last comment, though, about the AI space. Think twice before launching something that a company with phenomenal distribution could just launch as a feature. I do believe there's opportunity for success in hyper-specific verticals with AI if you can get a data moat and disrupt incumbents. But I think founders will need to be way more specific on their vertical than HR, legal, and finance. There's an app called ClearSpace that wants you to do 100 push-ups every time you want to get 100 seconds, and TikTok, another YC company. I actually checked these guys out about a year ago, and they were working on the same problem, but without the exercise requirement. They allowed you to set granular limits on the number of times you open specific apps on a given day, which I thought was a fantastic idea and worked well. But here's the challenge, which might be why they added the exercise component. There are problems people want to solve, and problems people just say they want to solve, but in the deepest of their hearts don't want to solve. Example, I say I should probably stop eating so much maple syrup, the real stuff, right? Not the fake stuff. But do I really? The reality is I still have 2 gallons in my fridge and backup bottles in both my cars at all times, just in case I get served the fake stuff at a restaurant or a friend's house. Everyone talks about wanting to spend less time on their phones, but most people don't actually want to solve the problem, sadly, because the second they solve the problem, they have new ones, like what do they do with the time, where to find meaning and purpose and connection, and all those pesky problems and questions that take way more energy to solve than just scrolling Facebook. So with startups like ClearSpace, in my opinion, you really need to compound the value somehow to get folks over the fact that they only kind of want to solve the problem. Example, bundling the use less screen time problem with being physically unhealthy problem. It's a cool ad, and I'll be curious to see how it works for them. But the takeaway is you need to know your users and know whether or not you're solving a problem for them that they actually want solved or just say they do. If they actually want the problem solved, life will be a heck of a lot easier. There's a company competing with Uber that I just missed somehow, and they've been around since 2013, Estonia-based Bolt, who the Next Web states has 5% of the worldwide ride-sharing market compared to Uber's 25%. I thought Uber had more, which is no small feat. How are they competing? Well, they're generally just cheaper to use, and it sounds like that was the general strategy. It seems like they're doing everything Uber does, ride-sharing, food, scooters, and the like, with the main difference being that they also do car sharing. They're planning to go public next year, but this will be interesting to watch. They're not in the US, but are in 45 other countries. I look forward to reporting on this one soon after we see how they do, because Uber had a heck of a time losing a lot of money for a while, and then they just raised their prices. So the question is, with Bolt, is this another case of undercut the competition by burning money until you get the market share and then raise the prices? Or do they have some unique operating model that allows them to keep their operating costs down and lower so they can then pass those savings on to the user? We'll see. They are a 2013 era company though, so the lose lots of money fast model was very normal back then. Falling more out of style now, and I don't actually know if they're profitable or not at the moment. I assume not, but we'll see. If this does pan out, maybe the burn cash to be cheaper and gain market share model is still a worthy arrow to have in the quiver. According to Green Queen, there's a startup working on making chocolate, free chocolate. So let me clarify, making chocolate-free chocolate, chocolate without chocolate. Forage Foods just raised a Series A+, didn't know the plus was a thing. The cocoa harvest wasn't too hot this past year, but obviously people still need their chocolate, so the plot, supply and demand. But there's one problem. As someone who lays off gluten and dairy, I've had a lot of bread-free bread and milk-free milk. It's not the same, and I'm not letting anyone take away my real chocolate. What's next? Steak-free steak? Dang it, yeah, that's happening. Catch you later. Peace. No fear of falling, we'll conquer all. Those bubbles weren't intentional, or balloons. Apple.